everybody. Thank you so much. My name is Molly Spearman, and if you don't mind, I'm going to come. I hope it doesn't affect the sound, but I'm going to come down on the floor so I can see.
I didn't speak that some kind of way.
Affect our speaker. Okay, thank you. I feel a little better down on the floor, closer to you all. My name is Molly Spearman, and I'm honored to serve as your State Superintendent of Education. I was elected in November of 2014, and I can't believe it, the time has flown by, but I'm in my 4th year of service. We've come tonight. Normally I like to come and share with you and all the celebratory events, these great students that are sitting here, all your accomplishments, and the wonderful things that students here in Williamsburg County are doing. And you have grown some great people. You're growing some great people, and I know you're going to have some great students in the future. That is what this is really all about, our students, and providing for them the opportunities that they deserve to grow and become the best of what they want to be, whatever their passion is. And that's what I want to see for every child in South Carolina. I live up in Saluda County. It's not that different from Williamsburg, very rural area. I live out in the country. I love it. I tell people I live 30 miles from Walmart, and I love it. And I ran for this office because I believe in public education. And I believe that every child deserves a chance, and it is through education that their greatest potential can be met. And I'll tell you real quickly, though, the school folks can't do it all by themselves. They need the community. First, they need the parents and the family, a part of it. And then they need their school to be strong with great teachers and principals and district office folks, school board members, all who are working and dedicating themselves to be sure that every student gets to grow to their greatest potential. And they need a community behind them. And I have never seen such a great turnout as this. So this tells me automatically, and I walked through the door, I said, wow, Williamsburg County supports education. And the people of Williamsburg County care. So thank you. I really, really appreciate y'all being here tonight. And you have elected some fine gentlemen who represent you in Columbia that I work very closely with. And before we get into our presentation, I'm going to ask that Representative McKnight and Senator South come forward and have a few words.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent, and good evening to everybody. It is really good to see us gathered. I wish that the circumstances were a little bit more celebratory, but it is important for us to pause every once in a while, evaluate where we are, and ask ourselves the continuous question of how do we move forward. I really rose just to express my appreciation to our superintendent, who I've known now for a good 4 years. When you were running for superintendent, I was running for office as well. And my, how the years fly by. I want to say one quick thing, and then I'm going to pass the mic over to my colleague. So please know that when rumors began to spread on the question as to whether or not all of our schools would be open for the balance of the fiscal year, regardless to their financial condition, we posed the question to our state superintendent. And I will just tell you all without hesitation, she quickly said to me that our schools will absolutely be open and our staffs will absolutely be paid. That is the state superintendent that I've come to know and the one that I'm proud to serve with. Thank you, Molly, and your staff for all that you've done, not just for us here in Williamsburg County, but the entire state of South Carolina. Last point for real this time. Please know that 76% of the funding for our schools in this district comes from the state. 76% comes from the state. And Molly and her staff have just been absolutely fantastic in terms of working with us, not only in this district, but all districts across the state. So, with having said that, I'm going to ask my colleague, Representative Knight, to now come, and then we'll turn it back over to the superintendent.
Thank you, Senator Sabb. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It certainly is a pleasure to see all of you here. When I came in from Columbia, I was worried about what I would see, but I have to tell you that with the outpouring of support that I see here tonight, the number of people here, that I'm greatly encouraged as to whatever comes about tonight and in the next few days, we are going to come out on top, and we're going to be better than we've ever been before. One of the things that I say to myself in the morning when I get ready for work, whatever day it is, there's a quote that I love and I live by, and that is, you cannot fix what you will not face. So tonight, we're going to face some things, and we're going to have to see some things about ourselves that we may not like. But the good thing about us is that we serve a mighty God.
All right.
And through him and hard work, we can change and we can be better. So, it may hurt, it may be a gut punch, but we're going to suck it up, we're going to shake it off, we're going to come together respectfully, love one another, and we're going to get better.
That's right. All right.
I believe that. So, there are no adversaries to pay back, no debts, vendettas to repay. We are here as one district, one people, for one purpose, and that is to provide an outstanding education for every child in Williamsburg County. Amen? This time we're going to turn it over to our state superintendent, Ms. Molly Spearman.
Thank you. What a great way to get started. Okay, so I'm hearing a little feedback here. Let me move over. We're going to share. I apologize, we had some handouts. We just didn't expect this many people to show up. So we will have all of this posted on our website at the Department of Education. That's ed.sc.gov. So you can get copies. We'll make sure everybody has accessibility, and I'm sure the district will be doing the same thing. So the information we're going to share with you tonight is why we're here. Not here because of any recent allegations. This has been something, as I told you, I've been in office now for going into my 4th year, and in January of 2015, when I took office, the staff shared with me some concerns at that time that were ongoing with Williamsburg County and your ability to serve, particularly through your federal programs. That's the money that comes from Washington, to serve our special needs students, our special education students, Title I students, of which most of your students are. That's a very high concern. So we have been monitoring and watching and giving assistance over the last 3 years. And we also, in the last 2 years, have gained some additional responsibility. The federal government used to say if a district doesn't do what they're supposed to do, it only affects that district. Those rules changed. And now they say if a district in South Carolina or another state is not complying with federal programs, it can affect every district in your state, and we can refuse funding to your entire state. So State Department of Education, you got to start watching it more carefully. You got to give more assistance. You've got to monitor, and you've got to give an assessment. It's called risk assessment. And I'm going to ask Nancy Williams, our Director of Finance, and her office also does the auditing, to come up and just share with you very quickly our concerns about the high-risk assessment.
Good evening. Okay, as Superintendent Spearman just shared, the federal government, am I getting feedback? The federal government established a requirement that all, let's try that, is that a little better? Okay, the federal government requires that all state departments of education, that they monitor and they established a risk assessment process for all the school districts within the state and all the subrecipients of our federal funds. And with that, the department has established a process by which we go out and we assess your risk for non-compliance with those federal awards to make sure that you're in compliance, to determine your level of compliance. And so we've had that process in place for 3 years now. It's a tiered process, and over the course of the last 2 years, Williamsburg has been deemed high risk. It's one of only 2 districts in the state that has had that designation for more than 1 year. And so, the primary concern that has given it that high-risk designation relates to fiscal compliance, specifically as it relates to your special education program and your Title I program, just as Superintendent Spearman indicated. And so that's the federal portion as it relates to your programs. As she also indicated, last year a new state law was enacted related to fiscal practices. And what that legislation does is it specifically lists some fiscal practices and concerns that, if not implemented, could compromise the fiscal integrity of a school district, and it established different levels of declaration and concern. And within that, Williamsburg right now has a fiscal caution pending. A letter was sent last week concerning this because of repeated financial statement findings. And so those findings have been uncorrected for the last 3 years. They're still outstanding. And that has risen to the level to have you in a pending state of fiscal caution. Okay?
So what does that mean, Representative McKnight said? Fiscal risk assessment means, that's why we're here tonight, okay? That means that as a state agency, we need to come in and do some heavy monitoring, heavy technical assistance, or possibly even management of the district. Okay? So we'll stay, let's stay calm. Fiscal caution, the same thing there. Right now, it just means giving technical assistance from the state. It's a law that was passed. We just got that authority through the state legislature this year. So this is new responsibility. It's more on our plate to do. But I think as citizens of the state, it's wise for us to have that oversight on school districts and working with them. So it looks like we're working. I'm not sure if our being in front of these speakers is caught. Are y'all hearing us okay? Up in the corners? Okay. All right, so that's a little piece of it. And I want to keep moving along. Our goal is to be out of here by, I want to give you time to ask questions. So we're going to try to keep this to an hour and a half total with questions. So I'm going to go now to Dr. LaToya Dixon. Dr. Dixon is the director of the Office of School Transformation. That is the office that goes out and works with schools and districts to increase the performance, student achievement, performance of your students. We're in 34 schools across the state. She's going to share with you the work that we've been doing here in Williamsburg. It is based on test scores. Okay? Now, I will be the first to tell you that going to school and graduating is more, much more than just test scores. but they're important. And we have accountability, that people want to know how well their students are doing. How do we compare with schools like us? How do we compare with schools across the state? So we send out a school report card every year. That's been on pause the last 2 years because we're rewriting the program, I think, to make it fairer and more accurate. Because school should be more than just what you did on one day on one test, right, young people? Y'all, it's about ROTC. It's about dual credit courses. It's about career programs that you take to get industry credentials. It's a lot of things. But the part that she's going to share with you now is just on test scores, all right? So I'd like to ask her to come and share that with you now, and we'll move right through it. Dr. LaToya Dixon.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm going to share some information with you, thank you, Ryan, about test scores here in Williamsburg County. As Superintendent Spearman said, I'm Dr. Dixon. I'm the Director of the Office of School Transformation. And what we do is we work with our lowest performing schools across our state. Right now, we've been working with those schools that were identified in 2014, which is the last time we had a school report card provided to individual schools and identified low-performing schools. This coming November, our new accountability system will take effect, and we will be identifying a new list of schools whose performance warrants our support and attention. In Williamsburg County, we support work in one middle school, M.B. Lee Middle in Hemingway. We have a transformation coach there. That school is rated as a Tier 2 school. So what does that mean? We take a look at all of the schools that we serve, and we assign a tier category to them based on the academic achievement in the school, whether or not the school has certified, highly qualified staff, how long the school has been in need of improvement, and the district's financial risk. Tier 4 is the most severe rating you can have. Tier 1, the lowest. So you can see MB Lee is at a Tier 2. The main primary issue there that we're working with is student academic achievement. Because we have not had a rating system in the last 2 years and we've been in pause, as the superintendent mentioned, we have been required to identify those schools that would be deemed potentially underperforming. Meaning when we identify a new list of schools for low performing this coming November, in November of 2018, we suspect, based on historical performance over the last year or two, that these schools might also be served by our office. In Williamsburg County, those are 2 schools, King Street High School and C.E. Murray Middle School. Very quickly, I'm going to try really hard to keep this high level because this can get really confusing. But when our students every year come to school, there's this thing that happens at the end of the year, state test. Our students in grades 3 through 8 take what we call the SC Ready test in language arts and the SC Ready test in mathematics. What you see here on the screen is the performance based on the students of Williamsburg County in grades 3 through 8 last spring on the SC Ready English Language Arts test. In Williamsburg County, we had about 21% of the students who met or exceeded state standard. Meeting means on grade level. We want students to score on grade level. You can also see that we had approximately 79% of those students in grades 3 through 8 not meeting state standard. We want to see that number get better. And you can see we have work to do all across the state as we compare that to the state averages. In mathematics, similar performance. We have about 15% of our students, 15.2% of our students here in Williamsburg County in grades 3 through 8 that last spring met this standard in mathematics. And we had approximately, I can't see that number real well, but I think it's around 80, give me just a second, 84.8 of our students that did not meet that standard. We want to see that get better. We have a lot of work to do all over this state, but we definitely want to see more of our students meeting that standard, ready for the next grade level. In the areas of science and social studies, we give a test each year at the end of the year to see how students are performing called the South Carolina PASS test. In science last spring, you can see that 18.6% of the students in grades 3 through 8 met the state standard in Williamsburg County, while 81.4% of your students did not meet the state standard. We want to see that number get better. Again, we've compared that to the state average, and you can see kind of how different those numbers are. In social studies, now this is normally where we see higher achievement among all school districts. Usually students perform better on the social studies assessment, and that's no different here in Williamsburg County. 55% of your students met the state standard in social studies in grades 3 through 8 last spring, while 44.4% of your students did not meet the state standard. So that gives you an overview of how students in grades 3 through 8 performed last spring. They'll be taking those same assessments very soon, this school year, and we'll be looking to see how they perform, hopeful for some improvement. At the high school level, we give what's called an end-of-course examination. The end of course is given in 4 different courses. English 1, which students usually take in the 9th grade. Some students who are advanced will take that English 1 course as 8th graders, the English 1 test as 8th graders. Math 1, or Algebra 1 and Math for the Technologies. We give an end-of-course assessment also in Biology 1, as well as U.S. History and the Constitution. What you have here is the percentage of tests given in Williamsburg County, that's in red, where students scored a 60 or above. That's considered passing on this test. That's the floor, not the ceiling. But if a student scored a 60 or above, we count that as passing. So you can see when you compare how students in Williamsburg County have performed to the state average, there's quite a distance between that performance. We'd like to see those closer together, equal, or even exceeding would be great. I've included some data that looks at your particular performance of your individual schools. I'm not going to go through every single slide of this, but you can see how each school in your district performed last spring on all of the assessments I just talked about. The language arts assessment, the math, the social studies, and the science. One of the things I do want to point out, and I hope, here it is. One of the things we look at when we're looking at student achievement is we like to look at the graduation rate of high schools and of districts, and then look at the percentage of those students who are scoring well on those end-of-course examinations. So if we see a 90% graduation rate, we would expect that these courses, like Biology 1, English 1, Algebra 1, U.S. History, would have a similar percentage of students passing those tests. So you can see here, for example, Hemingway High School had a 4-year graduation rate last year of 92%, yet only 12.1% of their students passed the U.S. History and Constitution test. We'd like to see those numbers more aligned. That leads us to ask a lot of questions. Why is that? What's the difference there?
All right.
What are some things that we need to be taking a look at? Similarly, at King Street High School, 80% of the students in the graduation rate, while 20% of the students passed the Algebra 1 test. Yet 80% of your students graduated in 2017, met the 4-year graduation cohort. At C.E. Murray High School, very similar number. One of the things you might notice is we have the state average of students who passed those end-of-course tests at the bottom of that chart. And then we have our state average graduation rate. You can see those numbers are much closer together. For example, our state average graduation rate is 84.3, and the state average percentage of students who scored a 60 or above on the Algebra 1 test is 77. So that's a much closer together figure than to have 12% of your students pass a test, yet 90% of them graduate. So what our office does, or what we've done at MB Lee, is we've provided a transformation coach, and we support teachers in providing them with professional development and helping them help students produce better outcomes. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. John Payne, Director of Special Education.
Good
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm John Payne. I'm the Director of Special Education for the department, and I take my job very seriously because my job is to make sure that the rights of our children with disabilities in South Carolina are protected and that we elevate their voices. If we went around and had a conversation, I'm sure you might have family members, people that go to church, people that you know with disabilities that live in our communities. And we want to make sure that their rights get protected and that we continue pushing the envelope because we know they can do if they've got the right support. And that's very important to us. And I think about that, when I think about my work, I think about children in my own family. In South Carolina, we get federal dollars from the U.S. Department of Education to help pay for special education. To help pay, not all pay, but to help pay. We get money from our General Assembly that allocates money to us as well as local dollars that go here from Williamsburg County. And when I talk about my work, I'm going to talk about kind of two sides of special education. On the one side is the education part, making sure that children with disabilities are getting the services that they're supposed to get. If you've ever heard of an IEP, an individualized education program, it's the statement or a plan on how a child is to be served. And so we want to make sure that those children get those services for whatever they are, and they get the support and the assistance they need to succeed in life. The other part that I'm going to talk about is the finance part, which is about these federal dollars that we get from the U.S. Department of Education up in Washington. One of the ways that we measure, or we take a look to make sure that all the regulations, and let me also say that, ladies and gentlemen, there are a tremendous amount of regulations, and that the men and women you have as special educators here in Williamsburg County are always to be commended because it takes a special person to work with children with disabilities, and I just want to acknowledge that to you. So the way that we do this is we periodically visit a school district and we take a look at 12 big areas in special ed just to see how well a school district is doing. Every year my office visits about 16 or so school districts. We came to Williamsburg County in the 2014-15 school year to take a look at the program, and we issued what we call a findings letter. And it basically says, here are the violations to federal laws and regulations that we found. Now, in my years as Director of Special Education, we've yet to visit a district that we didn't find something, and that's not a bad thing. What's the important thing is we work together to get it fixed. And we always give school districts 1 year to address that. 1 year for us to work together to get these issues fixed, to make sure that we're meeting the law, the requirements for special education students. So in June, we issued a letter to the school district, and then by August, we saw some partial correction, fixing some of the issues. February 17, we're still looking at some of those corrections. We've not been able to clear the district yet. August of 17, we're still looking at documents to try to correct the district, to kind of check them off and say, now you're complying with the law. March 2018, we're still looking at those corrections. Ladies and gentlemen, that's 3 years of time since we originally came to the district to try to get some of these parts and pieces in place. As I mentioned, we look at 12 big areas when we come out. When we came back in 2015, we found systemic issues, or issues that we believe were pretty widespread. Of those 12 areas that we look at, we found issues in 9 of them. And fast forward to today, we still see systemic issues in 7 of those 12 areas. Federal regulations require, the feds say you have to fix it in 1 year. And most of the time, school districts are able to do that. Regrettably, at this point on the education side, we're still not there yet. We do note that progress has been made. So we went from 9 to 7. So we know that progress has been made, and we certainly commend the district on the progress it's made to date. But we want to get this sewed up and put to rest that it's making sure that the district is following the law and following all the regulations. But we still see some significant issues that are still outstanding with children's IEPs, or individualized education programs. The other part of the house is the finance side of the house. Now, Williamsburg County gets about $1.4 million a year in federal dollars from Washington. That's about one of that federal dollars to say, here's how much you get from the feds. We're requiring you to set this money aside to help fix the systemic issues. And we did require the district to redirect 25% of its federal dollars, that's about $350,000, to try to address some of the issues we found. You can see there $367,571 to try to get fixed these outstanding issues with special education. We said, here's how we're going to have to spend it. We gave get some consultants, get some frameworks and sort of different parts and pieces in place. And as of April, as of this month, the district has yet to fully spend and complete those redirected activities. This money does expire. We have to spend it. The feds say we have to spend this money by September the 30th of this year. So time is of the essence that we're getting these pieces completed. So let me put it to you in another way. Most of the special ed federal money goes to pay for special ed teachers' salary. And I mentioned Williamsburg County gets about $1.4 million in federal money. With the money that we had to pay back to Washington plus the redirected money, you can see that $650,000 or over $650,000 was used for something else. We either had to pay it back or we had to. Now please understand, I know that there are dedicated people here and we're committed to supporting the school district, and redirecting funds is the last thing we want to do. So we certainly want to make sure that we're supporting the district because we take ownership of this as well, and we want to make sure that we are in compliance and that we're spending this money, and most importantly, that the children with disabilities in Williamsburg and across South Carolina are getting the services that they deserve. And with that, I will hand it back over to the superintendent.
Okay. I know that it's tough. It's tough for me to sit and look at some of this, and my children are graduated and I'm a grandma now. But I know some of you, this is your home, this is your children, this is your school district, so there's a lot of concern. And we're not here tonight. You have some fantastic teachers. I'm not sure the red shirts, but teachers, some. A lot of teachers in the room who are working so hard. And it's not an easy job, okay? And I thank you for being teachers. There are district staff members here who have put in extra hours trying to get all this accomplished. And I appreciate their hard work. I met with your board prior to the meeting. We're not here, this is not about blaming anybody, okay? I take my responsibility, and honestly, as citizens, it sounded like maybe this is the first time y'all have heard some of this. And I'm going to be real honest with you. I think some of this probably has been shared at board meetings. Maybe not all.
No.
But hopefully, as Representative McKnight said earlier, we got a problem. And I do believe that together, with the intelligence and energy and commitment of all the people in this room and the love and care, I want you to know I am committed to helping fix this as quickly as possible. Our children in Williamsburg County deserve that, and we're going to do it, okay? Now, I want to open it up for questions. We're going to have 2 microphones that will come to you. If you'll just stand, I think that'll probably be, is that what you want, Ryan? If you'll just raise your hand if you have a question. But I'm going to ask a favor of you. Let's be civil. Let's be respectful. let's don't have any name calling tonight. I don't want to, this is not, let's don't identify any one person that you might be upset with or anything. I really don't want to, I don't know the answers to that. Try to frame your question in a very respectful way, and I'll do my best to answer it, or one of our staff members will. So, is there anyone who would like to start? Yes, ma'am. If you would tell me your name, too, and if you're a parent or a teacher, I'd appreciate knowing.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Wantia Green. I am a parent of a student. He attends C. Murray. He does have special needs. I've had several concerns over the years as far as our school district. My question is pertaining to accountability. We as parents, we turn a blind eye. There's been several signs over the years. When it was signs on the side of the road, school district made an F, school district made an F. And we didn't attend board meetings, myself, like we were supposed to. Then there was, Williamsburg County lost accreditation twice, to my knowledge, 2008 and again in 2011, that forced children to go to Clarendon County to receive education and finish. That was another warning. Then we received an additional warning when the children last year had to finish several classes online at the last minute. Then we had teachers to walk out. And again, parents, we did not react the way we should have. But my question is, when you show this PowerPoint and you go back as far as 2008 or the early 2000s, why didn't the state come in and take over? Because the parents wasn't holding them accountable, or the persons in charge. We wasn't holding them accountable. But when you have the ability to see our charts and to see our numbers and see things that we did not see, I feel as though you all should have stepped in and took over, because our children now are passing with a 65. You're putting them into the world. We have all failed them. A 65 is saying, you did it, okay, goodbye. But when they graduate from there, and I work at the federal prison, those people over there are adults with a 6th grade and 3rd grade education. If we continue to do this, we will continue to close down schools and build more prisons, and I will be a CEO over some of your children. So my thing is, when are you going to take over?
Okay, that's a very fair question. Okay, so I've been in office 3 years. In 2008, another state superintendent was elected. I will tell you this, when I took office 3 years ago, Dr. Dixon was not with us. We had recruited her back. She's from South Carolina, but she had gone astray and gone up to North Carolina and worked and brought her back home. But we had 2 people. The previous superintendents, or I'll just say my predecessor. I'll just go back 4 years, okay? This would have been 08 to 12. This would have been 10 to 14. 10 to 14. Really, the department had been cut. That was sort of the line of action there, to cut. The Office of School Transformation had 2 people in it by their design, and the process in place at that time was, they looked at the charts, and if there was a low-performing school, they divvied up, there was some money that was available, and they said to that school and district, send us a letter, tell us how you're going to fix yourself, and we'll send you the money. That was the way it was done for at least those 4 years. We took office. I thought that was wrong. I went to the legislature, and I actually quoted Dabo Sweeney, and I said, I can keep it like it is, but if y'all want me to really do this like it's supposed to be, you got to give me some money and you got to give me some people. And they did. It took me, a year to get that done. I got the money. They gave me money to hire this wonderful lady who came in, and they gave me enough money that she now supervises 40 people in her office. And now she wrote the plan of how best to serve schools that need help, because she had done it. She did it with schools and turned them around with 3 years as a principal. She knows how to do it and what it takes. She wrote a statewide plan for us that we are now implementing, and it is that tier status that you see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the kind of service we send and the professional development, and we're doing it. It took me about 1.5 years to get all that in place, 2 years, but I agree with you. They should have been here. The state should have been helping you. But I ran, got elected, thank the good Lord, with a lot of people's help, and we're changing it, and I think we're doing it the right way now. But that's all I know to say. I agree with you. Yes, this did not just happen in the last 2 or 3 years. It's been going on for a while, okay? But I'll tell you, we have a plan in place now, and I'm committed. Dr. Dixon, I have to tell you, the entire focus of the Department of Education, I believe, we are changing it. I don't want to get in the way of districts. There's some districts that are doing fine. Get out of their way. We copy them, try to copy their good stuff. But the districts that need help, I mean, I grew up, I still live. I chose to go back and live in a rural area. Our school districts are well, but this is where my heart is, okay? And that's why I ran to be state superintendent. So I'm sorry. I agree with you, but I'm doing the best we're changing it, and we're here now, okay? But you're right. Another question. Yes, sir. I tell you, we'll take 2 on this side, and then we'll take 2 questions on this side. Would that be fair? All right. Yes, sir. She's bringing the mic.
Norman Gamble, pastor of the Ebenezer Baptist Church, resident in Louisville, South Carolina. I want to thank you for your presentation. Thank those who are responsible for your being here. I listened to, I think it was Dr. Dixon, quantify about things getting better. Dr. Dixon, can you give us a percentage in terms of what you're looking at? I looked at Hemingway, 12% history. What do we need to do in order to be better in that area, in that arena? That's one question in reference to that. Superintendent Spearman, you will agree with this, I think, that everything emanates from leadership. You show me a Potter's house, and I'll show you T.D. Jakes. You show me America Great Again, and I'll show you Barack Obama. Y'all clap for that. Everything emanates from leadership. Leadership. When you look at leadership in Waynesburg County in terms of things that should have been done, and I'm not asking you to be critical, left brain, but I'm asking you to look at it because you said some things should have been done year after year after year after year, and it has not been done. Why has it not been done?
Well, let me take my question first, and then Dr. Dixon will come up. My background, I was a music teacher, assistant principal. I served in the legislature, worked for Inez Tenenbaum when she was state superintendent of education, ran the SCASA, which is the professional association for all the principals and superintendents in the state for 10 years. Now I'm in this job. So I've been in education a long time. I am the biggest cheerleader ever for public education, okay? But I keep learning every day. And it has finally come to me, watching this, the 3 years I've been in this. Education is a system, okay? And like any corporation, it is a big system, and there are many pieces to the puzzle. For us, it starts school board. I'm going to start back up. First, it starts with you, electing school board, okay? Good winners. The school board then has to choose an excellent leader as superintendent. The superintendent then has to hire an excellent staff. And including in some of that, the most important job that a superintendent does is hire the principals in the school who are key to the culture of that school. And if the principal is great, they're going to hire teachers, and they may be average, they may be great teachers, they may need some work, but the principal's going to evaluate them and help them get better and support them and establish a culture where they will stay. Because if they don't have a good boss, they're not going to stay. They're going to go somewhere else. So if any one of the, and then they get the great students, and they're just always, they're there, okay? Our wonderful students. all of that, and then the community support. But that system, that's why I can't, it could be any of those pieces going awry at any time that causes it. You may correct one piece and you don't correct another. So, you know, you're right. It is leadership at every level. And it all has to fit together to make it run really, really well. So I agree with you. It's not easy, and I know you have challenges. I know you have a lot of children who grow up in poverty. Poverty brings a lot of issues that we have to give a lot of extra support to children who are in poverty, and we have to understand that. But that is no excuse. Should never be an excuse, because quite frankly, I grew up poor and didn't know it till recently. Dr. Dixon will tell you she grew up in the projects up in Rock Hill, okay? So there are some great people and great potential that we cannot use that as an excuse, but I will be the first to say that it does bring a lot of challenges that you got to meet. So I'm going to ask her to come up and talk about how do you fix it. And she knows because she's done it.
That's a great question. I think it starts with being able to really dig deep and target what the issues are. So our model of improvement is built around something similar that we tell teachers in the classroom. They have a classroom of 20 students. We say you need to differentiate. You need to help every one of those students where that particular student needs help. If LaToya needs help with math, that's where you need to give me extra support. And if Superintendent Spearman needs help with English, that's where you need to give her extra support. With our model, what we try to do is do a needs assessment of each individual school and find out where are the deficits, where are the gaps, where are the places that that help is needed. And then we work to provide that help by building the capacity of the folks in those schools and in those communities so that they're able to continue that improvement long after our help is not there. Because ultimately, we want that improvement to be sustainable and long-lasting. So we don't want to come in and fix everything, but we want to teach people how to. We believe in an elbow-to-elbow, side-by-side, on-the-ground support. I know that from working in schools. Coming in as a heroic individual only works in the comic books. Heroes are only good for cartoons and comic books. What school improvement takes is hard-working, committed people who are willing to work together, to admit when it's something they don't know and need to learn, to help each other, to do, ultimately, always what's best for our children. So I can't point to why the particular deficiencies are there, because I haven't been inside every one of your classrooms. But your principals, your teachers, they know where their students need help. We have to help them channel that, focus that, so that we are seeing that result in the outcomes that students produce on those tests.
That's what I'm asking.
Okay?
I'm asking, based upon the human scores, 12% of history and constitution, you said we need to see some improvement. So if they go from 12% to 13%, are you satisfied? Or do they need to go from 12% to 24% in order for us to say that they have increased their numbers significantly enough? I'm looking to quantify that. The other thing is, when we look at scores, why are we not looking at national scores? I know we're looking at locally in South Carolina. South Carolina's at the bottom. So we're comparing ourselves to us at the bottom. Why are we not comparing ourselves to what's national? Because we compete in a global economy and a global society. We should have also had national scores.
So our assessment that we give students here in South Carolina is a South Carolina assessment. So we are comparing how students in our state are performing among each other. It's not a national assessment. In other measures of assessment, we do give the ACT, for example. That is a national assessment. We can look nationally how students are performing. And as in terms of quantifying how much improvement is improvement, here's what I know about school improvement. If anybody stands up here and says to you that it's improved if you can get it to 80% by next year, they are not smart.
Right.
I know from doing the work that improvement takes time. And it starts with building the capacity of folks and helping them improve their practice. And that incremental improvement happens over time. What the research tells us is that if we see 3 to 5% improvement in a year's time in assessments, we're making some headway. Now here's what I can tell you from my experience. I know I said earlier that heroes only exist in cartoons and comic books. When I was a principal in a chronically low-performing school in the state of North Carolina, a school that had been on the low-performing list since the inception of the list, I had a superintendent who also was here in South Carolina who convinced me to come with her and help this school. She said, "How long do you think you need?" I said, "I need at least 5 years." In 2 years, that school came off the low performance list. But it was because we had a system, the system that Superintendent Spearman spoke to, that supported a structure so that inside the school as principal, I was able to hire great teachers, provide them with the professional development they need, retain those teachers who were effective so that we're not turning over teachers year to year. So there are a lot of pieces. There are a lot of pieces that go into making improvements. It's a complex question, which is why I don't have an automatic answer for you. It's going to take some work.
That's right. That's right.
Ryan, I see a lady's hand, 2 ladies here. And we've got, I have Ryan Brown and Laurie Traywick with me also tonight from the department. I didn't introduce them, helping out with the microphones. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, just a concern here. I heard earlier that the school will remain open for this rest of this year. What's going to come in August when our kids have to go back to school? Will we have the funds then? Do you foresee that?
Yes, ma'am. Schools will be open. All right? Schools will be open, and we're going to provide, the state will be here to provide, we provide the education. We're not talking about, you don't have to worry about your children having a place to go, okay? And teachers having a place to go. That is not an issue, okay? But a great question. I think this lady, I saw her hand, and then we'll go, Laurie, we'll get you, sir, okay? I see you.
Yeah. Hit me right here.
Good afternoon. Amy Lambert. I'm a mom with a special needs child. He's 15 years old. You have been saying that you have been watching for 3 or 4 years. What I would like to know is how is this going to impact my child in the 3 or 4 years that he's lost? And how will we make that up? Because that's 3 or 4 years of his life that he will never get back.
True indeed. Yeah, that's the thing.
It's a fair question. I hope that your child has been served. I don't know your specific issue, you know. I hope that he or she has been served. I do have a responsibility, and I'm going to take some of the blame of this too, okay? As I said, I was elected. We started watching, monitoring, meeting. There's certain type of protocol that we go through because, you know, education's supposed to be controlled at the local level and provided here. We don't want to interfere. We don't want to interfere. But we have been going through the processes and giving a chance. We have at the department not only Dr. Payne and his whole Office of Special Needs, but we also have an ombudsman, an attorney, who, maybe you've talked with her, I don't know. I've got a feeling maybe you know each other. But we have an attorney who is full-time, who is the will represent families in special compliance cases, and I know that she has been representing some parents on behalf of the state. So it's a fair question, but you know, I hope your child has been the one that has been served. I don't know, but good question. But we do provide services. Yes, ma'am. Do you mind waiting just 1 minute? And I'm going to go over here and take 2 questions, and we'll get to you with a microphone so everybody can hear you. Over here, Laurie. Do you have, yes, sir. And I think there's someone right up in here that's had their hand up too.
Hello, my name is Bernard McAllister, and I'm just a concerned citizen. I want to know if the school board been getting this once a month, or they just got it too? Are they familiar with the ratings?
Right. The tests are given in the spring. The results usually come back in August. We're working on that to get it faster. But at that point in time, they are shared with your local administration. So your school district, yes, your school district has had this. And I'm guessing, I know that they have disaggregated some of that, broken down the information to look at it, have shared it among their staff, and the board was familiar with most of the information that is given at a board meeting, and they can probably give you that back through the minutes if you want to check on that where it was discussed and presented. Lori, yes sir, just say it real loud. Okay, that's a good question. His question was how regular do we give out a rating on that? Normally we do it every year in November. There'll be a report card coming out on your schools. It's printed in the paper, online, will be discussed probably at your school board meeting. However, it's been a little different for the last 2 years because the federal government, I know y'all have all heard of No Child Left Behind, the federal legislation. Most people didn't like it. The one good thing I will say about No Child Left Behind was it made us start breaking down the information to by subgroups. So you have this big old school, and they maybe have 100 special needs kids, and before they could kind of hide the information. Can't do that. No Child Left Behind said you got to break it down by every little group and tell how every little group of children are performing. So that was a good thing. There were some other parts not so good. And so the Congress finally, this happened under President Obama, passed the Every Student Succeeds Act. And for 2 years, we had a chance to rewrite how we're going to score schools. So we've been in the process of that, and while that was going on, ratings for districts were not given. And so it's been a little different information, so we've just given out the test scores. But you've still been getting your test scores, but not an overall rating. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Salandia Hammond, affectionately known as Sue Ham, baby. Had to throw that out there. But thank you and your team for coming out today. I have some questions. We're broadcasting live from Facebook where we have over 100 and some people watching our broadcast, and they wanted me to pose some questions. One is, will you and your team take over the educational system here in Williamsburg County? And number two, if you can discuss it legally, can you go into detail about the current lawsuit brought against our school board?
Okay, two very good questions, and thank you for being here and filming this so that people who couldn't come are part of that. I'll take the second question first. Due to the legal action, I really can't discuss the case. I believe there's a hearing set for the 19th, is that correct? Where the case will be heard for D.P. Cooper versus the school board, so I really can't discuss that. Your first question, are we planning to take over this district? Yes, it is on the table. No, wait, I said that wrong. That is an option that is on the table. I have not.
Don't set nobody up like that now.
I apologize. Let me word this properly. Here are the options on the table. Here are the three options. One, we could give more time. Two, we could work on some type of agreement, and then third is what we call a declaration of an emergency management.
Declare it.
Let's stay respectful here. Let's stay respectful because this is serious, folks. This is very, very serious. So let me tell you what that means, okay? Because it's not anything taken lightly by me at all, and I've discussed this with the board tonight. What that means is this, that you really lose local control
That's
of
okay.
your school.
Fine by
And the school is then managed by the state superintendent of education. Your board members who have been elected by you really don't have any authority.
That's fine.
They are elected officials, and yet they would not have any authority, and that's very, very serious. You know, we believe in our country in selecting our elected officials. It would mean, for us, it means that we would be here managing day-to-day operations. We would manage all hirings. We would manage, it's a lot of responsibility for the department. And I'll just tell you, while, you know, we have an awful lot of responsibility, but I would ask that each of you, I have not made up my mind. The decision does lie with me.
Come on, Molly.
And I have not made up my mind completely. So, but I will promise to you that I am committed to making a decision very, very soon. This was part of the process for me to come and meet you, for you to be able to ask me questions. I will tell you how I am so impressed. I just told Senator Sabb again, I am so impressed with the turnout tonight, with your questions, with your concern, and I really do believe that this can be turned around. I really do. So I ask for your prayers and your patience, but I promise that I will make a decision very, very soon. And yes, let's see, this gentleman here, I believe, okay, on the back row, we got two questions we're going to take. The gentleman in green, the lady in purple there.
My name is Maud Davis. I just moved back here from New Jersey. I'm a Title I advocate. And I see what is going on with our children, and I just heard you talk about the 4 years. 4 years of waiting is too long for our children. Those kids that have missed out on the 4 years, the only option for them now is you are looking at them going to the prison. Someone needs to take charge of Williamsburg County. It's been posted in the newspaper concerning Title I. Help your child.
That's not true.
All of it.
Thank you very much. Brian, we'll go to the next question. Thank you. Good reminder to all of us as parents and grandparents. Schools can't do this by themselves.
Okay, I'm going now. That's what I'm talking about. Amen. That's a mic drop.
And I am a citizen. I was an educator within this county. I had a career change, and I am a daughter of a school board member. And I know that my dad can attest that I pressure him all the time about accountability with the number of certified teachers within our classroom. And our test scores show to me that there are not enough certified teachers in our classroom. And my question, and I tell our board members and also our superintendent, what are we doing in Williamsburg County to bring these certified teachers to our county?
Right.
Are we having job fairs? Or are we giving incentives to people to come back to our district to teach our children? Thank you.
this in the paper, it is becoming more and more challenging statewide to fill all of our vacancies and to make sure that we have well-qualified certified teachers. Fewer people are going into the education field, and particularly in our rural areas, it is harder and harder to recruit people to come. Our salaries are lower generally. Nobody wants to live far, but y'all may have Walmart here though. I bet y'all do. No? Okay.
30 miles.
30 miles. Okay, all right. My kind of people. All right. But well said, and I think you do have to be aggressive. You do have to go. There are places in the country that have an abundance of teachers that we need to go there. I'm not sure about what Williamsburg. I'll find out. But most districts now have to go out of state. There are Ohio, Kent State. I know my county recruits from there. So you're right on that too. That we've got to be aggressive in recruiting, and having a quality teacher in the classroom is the most important part of that whole system, I think. So good points. I'll find out about what we've been doing. Yes, sir. Come get you.
Now, I go back when we had the last Democrat in office, and it was time to vote. That's how big this thing is, because tonight we're just tipping the iceberg, just to be flat honest with you, because you need answers and a driveway to drive through, and we need that. And right now, I think we're just clashing. But to be straightforward with you, it's sad when we're supposed to elect someone when the last time I went to vote, I could not cast my vote until I voted for someone that I didn't want to vote for. And I brought this to someone's attention at the poll in Hemingway, South Carolina. And I said, so you tell me I'm the only one that's seen it? Which there was a school teacher that's seen it as well. And she can vouch for it. So in other words, we're voting for someone, but you selected. That's not fair game. And I got proof of this. But you all got a bigger message.
Okay, all right.
Trying to vote for somebody else, but he couldn't vote
All right.
for wanted to vote.
All right, let's try it. We've had some really good questions, and I want to get to as many people as possible. So let's see. We're going back to this side. This young lady. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Erica Williams, and I'm a parent and a dedicated volunteer for the Williamsburg County School District. I'm a parent of an honor student, but she's an honor student for Williamsburg County. What is Williamsburg County going to do, or what can they do so our children can at least run the same race as some of the other counties?
Yeah, because honor student now don't mean honor student what it used to be.
I know you're a wonderful parent, and let me just tell you this. So I taught all over, and I was teaching up in Lexington 5, which is one of our highest achieving, very affluent community. My husband and I chose to take our children, and we moved back to Saluda, okay? And when we moved, I went from having a schoolroom, I was a music teacher, I had everything you can imagine, guitars, pianos, everything you could imagine. I went back and I started teaching in an old portable with an upright piano, no bench, and I had to bring my own record player, okay? There was a lot of disparity. But when I went back there, some of the finest teachers I ever worked with were there. Now, people got smart, passed a referendum, they got nice facilities now. Our daughter, Katie, and our son, Mitchell, graduated from Saluda High School. They did real well. They were honor students. But they were nervous when they went off to Clemson and he went to Presbyterian College. They were nervous. Am I going to be ready? Am I going to be ready? They had studied hard. They had studied hard, and I'm saying this to you students who are sitting here. We're not saying, if you study hard and apply yourself, you can be an honor student here and go off and do extremely well, okay? You students have got to apply yourself. You've got to apply yourself. My daughter was worried. She only had 2 AP courses at the time. Okay, that's all Saluda offered. She went with kids who came into Clemson with 61 hours of it. She was like, Mama, what am I going to do? But she had had a fantastic math teacher. And guess what? She tutored kids from some of these big schools, okay? Because she had studied hard. So young people, you apply yourself and work hard and find the best teacher you can to work with and let them support you. And she was also a drum major in the band. She was in student government. And she was in 4-H and all these wonderful things that small town kids get to do. And she was an outstanding student at Clemson. And there are outstanding students from Williamsburg right now who are excelling at colleges and universities everywhere. Okay? So again, I know this is hard for all of us, and particularly I'm concerned about the students here tonight. I'm just telling you, apply yourself, work hard, and apply yourself, and study, and read, and do, and participate, and you can soar. You can soar. Okay? So don't worry. I mean, really, don't worry. She's going to be fine. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Destiny Williams. I am the Vice President of the Executive Board at C. Murray High School, and I'm an honor student and a junior. These are some of my colleagues from C. Murray. My question for you is, let's just say hypothetically that the state does not take control over our district. What will be your objective as far as making sure that our school district is implementing the resources to improve the academics and test scores that you labeled on the presentation as far as underperforming schools? For example, Hemingway Middle School and C. Murray Middle School.
How about that? Okay? See what I'm talking about? Excellent question. Congratulate, very articulate. Thank you for asking the question. You are a great representative of your fellow students.
Amen.
So let me see if I can answer that question. So, I can hardly remember it now.
I'm on that line.
If we don't take over, how are we going to implement success? And I'm going to get LaToya to come up and help a little bit. There are things that can be done with working with your teachers to enhance those. We really need the principals, and I'm hoping they've already done this, to assess and go in and evaluate in your teachers' classrooms how they're teaching. It's not to bang a hammer on anybody's head, but it's together the principal and the student can decide what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what do you need to work on. Look at your school data. Where are we missing? Where do we need to put our focus? And get professional development in to help the teachers deliver the instruction, personalize it more, and that's what we can do. Did I answer it okay? I mean, that's the key, really. We give all these tests, and we've got to take the information we get and work with the classroom teachers so that they can say, well, my students didn't do too well on this part. I need to do a better job with this instruction. Here's how you do it. And we've got some folks who can really, really help with that. And you've got some folks, too, here as serving in your district who can do that, but we need more emphasis on that. That's really an excellent question. You're going to do really well in life. And that's the other thing. You know, parents, manners and presenting yourself well, all those things are, to me, are just as important, if not more important, than some of these scores we showed you tonight, okay? So obviously you're doing a great job with that. Okay, how we're doing on time. I don't want to keep you too late. We got about 10 more minutes of questions. Okay, yes.
The question that I have regarding to academics, do the curriculum that we have, is it up to par? And meaning, like, when a student goes to graduate, if they decide to go to college, the curriculum they have, are they ready for the next step? Reason being, when I graduated high school, I was in advanced calculus. But when I went to college, I was still 3 years behind. So is the curriculum up to par where it needs to be?
I think that the district has, company is nodding, they have done a standard, what we would call that a standards alignment. So look, the state has the right standards in place for every course, content area, every grade level. This is what needs to be taught, students need to know. And they have aligned that and looking to make sure that the curriculum matches that. I think now they need to go in and be sure that every teacher is teaching that, okay, and knows how to give the support. When the accountability first came in, here's what you don't want. This is what happened way back in 1998 when our accountability system first went into place. I was a principal, assistant principal, and I had to face parents whose children got low test scores on the first time we gave the test. But this mother came in to meet with me. She said, "Will you explain to me? My child's in the 5th grade and has never made anything other than an A, but yet her scores show that she's not meeting the standards."
At charter school, 1 attend Anderson Primary. Now, if all this money had to be given back to the federal government, why is it? Because my youngest son has an IEP. I received a letter that they were doing an after-school program to assist with the weak areas that he was having. But of course, they only had 100 slots, and he was not one of the children selected for the program. But now at my other son's school that attend the charter school, I received their after-school program letter stating all children, I think from grades 4 through 8, would have an opportunity to participate in the after-school program if, as a parent, I wanted my child in that program. What's the difference? You have a school that's barely making it, letting all the kids come to get the additional services. You have a school that's funded, or supposed to be funded, but yet we have all this money going back, and I have a child that has basically failed all year. I have a problem with that.
Yes, ma'am. I can understand that. I don't have the answer. I think that's a fair question, and you need to speak with one of your board members or district staff about that. I will tell you, the funding, let's all be respectful. There are different pots of money, at least from our perspective, that we send from the state for certain programs. One is a summer reading camp program. I don't know if that's what you're speaking of, but just so it wasn't. Okay, not even, okay. But, gotcha. Okay, so this was a basic after-school program, but there are pots of money that we do send that have strings attached. The district can tell you that have strings attached. Like right now, the state law says any student who does this not on grade level by 3rd grade has to go to a summer reading program. Some districts are offering that, are able with their money to offer that for more than 3rd graders, but you're first supposed to go to 3rd graders. I don't know the answer, but we need to check on that for you. Her question was, should special ed students be at the top? Again, could be, depending on what the service, what the intention of that after-school program is. But I think if you don't mind, I think that's something maybe you address with some of the local folks. We'll try to find out for you, but ask a question. But a good question, good question. All right, let's see, where are we? Laurie?
Good evening.
I think we'll take this question and then maybe one more from this side, and then we're going to wrap it up, okay?
Good evening. My name is Terrence Scott. I have 3 different kids at 3 different schools. And I'm very much involved in what's going on at each school. And my question is, you said good principals make good teachers. So my question is also, who are responsible for hiring the teachers? The principals or the school district? And my thing is also, I had a child in one school, I know at least 5 teachers in one classroom. So how can the child be stable and be in a stable environment with that many teachers? And my thing is, do you hire the teachers when school starts, or you go plan ahead of time to prepare to get teachers?
Okay. I'm not sure I have all the answers to your question. I'll try. Normally, principals, varies a little bit in districts, but normally, principals are given the authority to interview and to make their selection of who they would like to be on their staff. Then they work with the school board and the superintendent to approve those. It might vary, I don't know exactly what the situation is here, but normally it is the principal working with the superintendent personnel, and then the school board approves the whole list of teachers is usually how it happens. I'll check on it for you to see kind of how it's done here. As far as multiple teachers in the classroom, you know, there are different settings. I don't know the answer to that as to what that situation might be. It might be in a group teaching area. Are you talking about looping?
He's talking about turnover.
Turnover of teachers. Oh, you mean a different teacher? Leaving. Okay. Wow. 5. That's not good. Okay. One last question. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
No, I'll get Miss Naomi here now.
Okay. We'll get you. Hang on. I'll get to you. Two. We'll take two.
I listened real attentive to when the Department of Director of Special Needs was up. There was 2 figures that you mentioned, and he said $282,000 was for special needs, and it was supposed to be sent back. My first question is, where did the money go? Because I'm sure we know with checks and balances where it went. There was another figure you mentioned, which was $650,000. We want to know where was that spent. So if he can tell us exactly where those funds
I'm going to give the mic to...
And then my third question, have you ever taken over a district, and were you successful?
Okay. All right, we'll go with Dr. Payne first.
The district was short in how much in local or state and local dollars that they were putting up for special ed. They were short $282,000 and some change. So what we're required to do then is the district pays the department back, so they cut a check to us, and then we are required to cut a check back to the federal government that puts it back into the United States Treasury. Okay, so that's federal dollars. It goes back into the Department of Treasury, and that money then is distributed in however the Treasury, spends those money. That did take place, yes, ma'am. So that was, I think that was a year ago. We issued a notice to the district. So the way we have to do it under law is we have to send a letter and say, here's what we're about to do, and give the district 10 days or give them a period of time. And then we follow that with a second letter to say, now, we need to cut a check back. And so that happened in that instance. The second figure that I provided is the $367,000. And that was money that we at the department said, because we have these violations that have gone year after year after year that we've not got cleaned up, we said as a result of this long non-compliance to federal requirements, we are saying, district, you got to set 25% of your federal money aside to try to fix that. So part of what we said is, with this money, you have to hire an outside qualified consultant to provide guidance on special education. You got to get some folks to help with special ed services. We got on fiscal side of the house. We also looked at professional development money for special education teachers, because we want to make sure our teachers have all the resources in their toolkit to teach any child that walks into the door. And so that was the money that was supposed to have been expended for all those parts and pieces. Some of it has been done. So they have spent some of the money.
We have been managing those 2 schools, which means we hire the principal, and Dr. Dixon goes down almost once a week now for 2 years. She's been going there. We also worked very closely with the local district and signed a memorandum with them, which was something that we just worked out with the school board. And they agreed that I would be involved in any district level hirings, that we would work very closely together in managing the entire district. It's a very small district, just 3 schools, 1 building. The whole district, 650 some odd kids, 1 building. So we've been working very closely. I would say there's been some success. The best success is that we stabilize the financial, their situation was very different. Each situation is unique. They did not have a good software system, a good financial system. We purchased that for them. We went in and set up a new finance system for them. We did extensive training, Dr. Dixon, with the teachers in those schools. We are beginning to see progress, growth for those students. And we went into those schools because of low achievement level, lower than what you saw here, okay? And we're seeing progress. So we've done that. Has it been all perfect? No. There have been some issues recently. We worked together to hire a superintendent, leadership. There was a change there. And, there's some concerns that I have now. So it's not all, I can't say it's all glowing, but yes, there's been progress. It's hard work. The other place is Allendale. And last year, we did take management of the Allendale School District. I appointed Dr. Walter Tobin to go in to serve as the superintendent there. The board has very, very limited authority, and we are seeing progress there. We've set stability. That was the main thing there with the community, and the support that the community felt with the board, I think is better, is growing with us being there and building the confidence level. There were some decisions that we needed to make in personnel that needed to be made, that weren't being made, that we had to make. So, and again, massive teacher, working with the teachers to build a system where they know how to take this data and do something with it. They've been like sponges. So yes, we do have some experience, but again, each situation is unique and needs to be handled that way. There's no one blanket answer. Very good question. Okay, this lady right here, I promised.
No, I don't need a microphone.
Well,
I have been a part of Hemingway.
let everybody hear you.
I am not a parent, but I have about, over the years, I've probably had about 2,000 kids to call me mom or grandma. And it's not just the parents' responsibility, it's not just the school's responsibility, it's the community's responsibility. Take a child under your wing. Tell them what's right and wrong. I have a business, and I cannot tell you how many kids from Hemingway High School that have come and worked in my business for 3 months out of the year during my busy season and gone off to college. I'm going to tell you about one particular person. His name is Emmanuel. He met me the other day. He rode my school bus, and I did a resume for him. He said, and I seen him in town. I said, Emmanuel, what are you doing now? He says, I work for the federal government. And I said, you do? He said, yeah, I work during the Obama administration, and right now I'm under the Trump administration, but I'm fixing to go back to school. I said, well, what are you going to do? He says, I'm going to be a lawyer. And it takes people in the community to be an influence on the kids.
Thank you.
And another thing, I don't understand why 4 years ago, Hemingway High School had an A rating, and now it's dropped. Something is wrong. It's got to be the administration. It's got to be something that's happened for it to be an A rating, and then when a certain particular person leaves, it drops.
Thank you, and good advice. Okay, I know that there are other questions. If y'all want to email me any questions, you can go on our website. I'll give you our email address. It's EdSupt, EdSup. What? Ryan's going to give you the address.
You can go to our website. It's ed.sc.gov. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a contact page. You can always email the department at info@ed.sc.gov, or you can call us 803-734-8500.
Say that over, 803-734-8500, or go to info, I-N-F-O dot, or at ed, for ed, dot sc.gov. Thank y'all for coming tonight. We'll make a decision, and I appreciate your prayers and your support. Senator?
To this community for coming. Molly, what you see here is what we experience, and that's a community coming together in a number of instances, but at this point we come together in crisis. If you all will do me one favor, please give our State Department of Education and our State Superintendent a hand for coming and sharing this information with us tonight. Molly Spearman, thank you so much. Thank you all, and God bless all of you.
Good night, people. I will be including my